Can you tell us a bit about the process? How did they restore the bells? And
They restored the bells by taking all the bells out of the framework in which they were fitted and passed through the little circle which is in the vaulting. If you look in the abbey in the centre, you'll find a large round opening, and that is in two halves, and they lift that above the vaulting and bring it onto the tower itself, into the ringing chamber, and lower each bell through that opening. And that opening, I've always maintained, decided on the size of the tenor bell, because when they dropped the tenor bell to the floor, there was about an inch, half an inch, remaining on the circumference for the lip not to knock the masonry to chip it out.
so it's quite a squeeze.
It was very much a squeeze, and they had three men arranging that. Two of them were standing on the vaulting above the opening and gradually guiding the lip through. And once the lip was through, it was a bit better because it was a smaller diameter as it got up to the face of the bell.
How did they actually uncouple the bells from their, what would you call it, the thing they're attached to?
A framework, which is a headstock, and the headstock of which the bell is fitted to. And it's normally fitted to by 4 large bolts through the head of the bell into the wooden framework, which it revolves on. And the headstock, which it was fitted to, was made of wood, and I suppose that the size of the piece of timber that it went through must have been about 12 inches square.
So they were connected to this by bolts?
By bolts, yes, with a pad in between to help deaden the sound.
And so would a workman would knock the bolts out and then the bell
yes,
would be lowered?
That's right, and in the centre was a large hole where the clapper was fitted. Thereby they put a large retaining bolt in and up the other way and screwed on to take the weight of the bell when they lowered it.
So that's how they did it. They removed the clapper and put a rope and a bolt in.
That's right.
How did they manhandle the tenor bell to be over the hole? How many men did it take to move it?
3 men. It was basically manhandled by these people across the framework into a position above the opening.
So you needed a bit of brute strength.
Well, it wasn't brute strength. It was just engineering ability and common sense, really, in dropping the bell gradually. You just don't drop it quickly. I mean, it probably only moved about a foot in about 5 minutes, very gingerly.
So they went very carefully and very slowly.
Very carefully, yes, in order not to break the stonework. Because if you broke that stonework, you'd finish up with scaffolding from the base where the choir stalls are up to the very top to repair it.
And so the most difficult bell to move out would be the tenor bell, I presume.
Well, most awkward, yes. And they also had to cut part of the framework in order to move it from one side to the other. And in so doing, the original bell founders, I believe, did not replace it correctly. They left parts of the framework out, saying it wasn't necessary. And that's how we got movement. When you rang again, you could feel the frame move.
So the original restoration actually left the framework slightly different from before?
Well, it did, because they had to remove a lot of the carillon working as well. And that wasn't replaced at all until White's of Appleton rehung them back in the 1960s.
And can you tell us a little bit about the frames of the bells in Bath?
The frame in Bath Abbey is a peculiar frame, and I understand from a bell hanger that told me years ago there's only one other frame like it in the whole of the United Kingdom, and that's at Limerick, where the bell frame is in like 2 sections of 4, where you've got 4 bells in one section and 4 bells in another section joined together.
Did you notice a difference in the quality of the bells before and after the restoration? Was there a difference as far as you could tell?
Oh yes, they were much easier to ring because they were fitted on new headstocks to suit the size of the bell, and they were in ball bearings, which made them easier to ring. Whereas before they were on just plain bearings and very uneven. They were becoming to get elliptical in a sense by virtue of that, and you were everlasting having to put grease in them to make them move easier.
Oh, so there's quite a lot of friction before.
Oh yes, very much so.
Did they sound different after the restoration?
Tonal-wise, I suppose they did. I can't remember, but they must have been a little bit better because they retuned them into a better scale.
Can you remember who retuned them?
Taylors of Loughborough.
Oh, thank you. So how long did the restoration take the first time around in the 50s?
I suppose the bells were out of the tower for the best part of 2.5, 3 months.
And what did you do in the meantime regarding the call for services and weddings and things like that?
You supported other bands of ringers in Bath, like at Twerton, Weston, St Michael's, Bathwick, anywhere.
When the bells were being restored then, was it just silent at Bath Abbey?
Oh yes, it's dead silent. You couldn't even ring the carillon because there's no bells to strike.
Was that a bit strange? Did it seem strange?
Well, it was strange really, because a lot of people used to listen to the clock strike.
I think people still do actually. You're walking around.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Oh yes.